What's up? This is Vince Carter. You're listening to 3 Point Conversion. Check it out.
Please raise your hands if you have questions for Coach. Miles Ehrlich.
Hey, Coach. Atlanta had 12 offensive rebounds tonight and forced 18 turnovers. And in both the second and fourth quarters, they really ramped up the pressure, and the ball movement seemed to slow a lot. While there were a couple of bad luck open shots that didn't fall in that last 4-minute stretch, what were you seeing during a majority of those long stretches where you struggled to score?
Moving the ball. One of the things we talk about a lot is if you see two people on you, you got to move it. We didn't. We tried to dribble out of traps. Wrote it on the board before the game, talked about it all week, practiced it 3 times, and still didn't execute it. It's really frustrating.
Thank you. And tonight, the team played with just an 8-player rotation. With Beck Allen still sitting, we found out in the second quarter that Stokes was out for personal reasons. Are you comfortable elaborating on her situation going forward?
We'll have more on that tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Jackie Powell.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for joining us tonight. I was curious if you could elaborate on the team morale. You told us against Vegas that you had to remind them to believe in themselves. What's the motivation level after this game going into Saturday's home game?
You know, I don't know right now. I know that they're pretty disappointed. You know, we spotted them 16 extra field goal attempts over the amount we took because of our turnovers and their offensive rebounds. It's hard to win a game. I mean, we held them to 35%, and lost. Again, it's frustrating. So what we talked about after the game is learning, and one of the growth steps we took was to adjust in the second half. And we got better on the boards. They still had 6 offensive rebounds, but we ended up winning the rebounding battle overall. But you can't give a team like that 12 offensive rebounds and turn the ball over 18 times for 22 points. You just can't.
Right. Final one from me. I'm curious what you made of how the team guarded Courtney. Although she had 18 points, it looked like you all did a better job of forcing her to take tougher shots with less space.
Yeah, Courtney's really good. I mean, she's not going to have 2 bad games in a row. She just doesn't do that very often. We knew she was going to come out and be aggressive, and that's what she does. She makes tough shots. And yeah, I didn't think she had a ton of rhythm dribble pull-ups like she did in the first game. I thought we contested most of her shots. You know, really our defensive breakdowns that happened were people going rogue, like we talked about.
Yeah.
And that when players just decided to switch when that wasn't our scheme, or you know, didn't kick out in the post when they saw a guard down there, just stuff that it's not our defense. And when one person does something, it trickles down like dominoes. When one person does something that's not a part of our system. So yeah, that bit us again tonight.
Thanks so much, Coach. I appreciate it.
Jeff Magliochetti.
Coach, thank you for joining us. Sabrina Ionescu broke the 25-minute ceiling that you talked about during the pregame. How do you think she looked tonight? Do you think she looked a little more crisp out there? And what do you think she has to improve on in order to get fully back to 100%?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that to get her to 100% in terms of her health. You know, it's not really my realm. I thought she moved well. I think her defense has been just vastly improved. I've been really proud of her defensive effort and execution for the most part. You know, she had a little moment where she fell asleep and gave up a backdoor to Odyssey. And we kind of, everyone on the court had moments where they fell asleep and just weren't locked in. You just can't do that in this league. You can't do that. And we did it too often.
Fair enough. And this is the longest stretch of off days, or at least games with no days, that you're going to have for a while. It's almost it's one of the longest you've had in your stretch as a head coach. So how can you best utilize these days to make sure you guys are ready for a 2-game and 3-day stretch at home next week?
It's the same. Getting back to our principles, it's obviously specific preparation for the teams you're going to play, but getting them some rest and getting them back to muscle memory on and repetition on the things that we need to do every single time down the court, particularly on the defensive end. And offensively, we just have to be willing to move the ball. We can't dribble around for 14 seconds of the shot clock and then give it to somebody and expect to get a good possession out of it. Like, the ball needs to move. We did that really well in the first game against Atlanta, and we did it pretty poorly for most of the game tonight.
Appreciate your time and insight, Coach. Safe travels home.
Thanks.
Cortland Griffin.
How you doing, Coach? Cortland Griffin with 3-point conversion. So I noticed you guys allowed a lot of leak outs on missed shots today. Can you elaborate on, is that just a defensive lapse, or is that just a result of you guys crashing the boards?
Well, we're not supposed to be crashing the boards, so it shouldn't have been that. I'd have to go back and look. That's not our philosophy. That's not what we do. We're supposed to be one person crashing the boards, and the other 4 are supposed to be sprinting back. So I'm going to have to look, but I know we missed some layups, and when you miss layups, I don't know what the percentage is, but the other team seems to score a lot. And I know that we missed 1. They came down and hit a 3. Thought we missed a lot down the stretch, and they burned us. When you miss a layup, you're essentially going to have to go 5-on-4, because the person who missed it's usually flying out of bounds, and then that offense is flying at you, and nobody's ready for it because everyone expects layups to be made. So we've got to continue to get to 2 feet. I don't know how much you guys watched the difference of when we got to 2 feet, but when we got to 1 foot, or when we got to 1 foot, and it was a pretty stark contrast. We got to continue to work on it. We've got to continue to make that muscle memory, because the 1-footed finishes have not been good to us.
Thank you, Coach, for your insight.
Rafiq Lewison.
Hey, Coach, very difficult loss tonight. Especially down the stretch. Bianca Lady was well contested within the last few seconds. What do you think that she could have done a little bit better to get a much better shot off?
I thought Benijah carried us tonight. It's hard to say something about the last possession, because I think she had 7 assists. I don't have a box score, but 7 assists and maybe 2 turnovers, and dealt with double teams all night. I thought Benijah was phenomenal. I mean, and she's fighting a cold or something, and she just was really, really, really good. And so it's hard, Rafiq. It's hard for me to speak on that last possession. I just think we're not even in that position without the way that she played tonight. And it's probably on me. I don't think I did a good enough job of getting her and Sammy involved consistently in ways that we could exploit what they were doing differently defensively. So I think, a lot of that falls on me. I think the late game management was okay. I've got to go back and look. I don't know that I managed the late game well enough. One of the things we talked about in the huddle was if we take care of business in the first half, and we're not in that position. But regardless, you're going to be in close games, and we all have to improve.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck in the next game.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Next up, Nate Odom. Azar.
Hey, Miss Odom, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. The question is, if you could just explain the feeling of how much this loss hurts you and hurts the team.
It hurts a lot. We do like simple things, little things, and we wish we could have that one back and do it the right way.
Jackie Powell.
Hey, Nay, thanks for being here with us. What do you think made it so difficult for you all to score and get on the board in those final 4 minutes of the game?
They just ramped up the pressure. We didn't handle it as well as we, drilled it in practice, and that's just what happened.
And what do you think it's going to take to get a win at home on Saturday against a former Liberty legend? I mean, you guys haven't won at home since May 24th. It's been a while.
Just stick to our game plan, stick to doing us and executing. We're just really big on execution these past couple games. We need to really focus on.
Thanks so much, Nay. I appreciate it.
Jeff Magliochetti.
Nay, thank you for joining us. So you guys were in a bit of a tough spot tonight with only 8 women on the bench tonight because you had the game time decision of Beck Allen and Kia Stokes as a late scratch as well. So how do you think you guys rallied around to play a competitive game with in such dire circumstances?
It's just a game of basketball. You got to play with what you got. And, we just put our all on the court. It just made little errors here and there.
And, this is an interesting season in the fact that there's been so many back-to-backs, there's been so many doubles, but now in your case, it's going to be interesting because there's going to be 4 days off and you barely had any of those in the bubble and you barely had any this year. So how can you personally and as a team utilize these 4 days off to be best prepared for a 2-game in 3-day set on Saturday and Monday, excuse me?
Just work on the things that we need to, which is really our principles, cracking down, sticking to who we are, and just, working with the pressure that teams try to give us.
Appreciate your time and insight. Safe travels home.
Thank you.
Cortland Griffin.
Hey, Nay. Cortland Griffin with 3-point conversion. You had 10 points tonight. You guys had 4 players in double digits. So that's a positive. So what can you guys do moving forward to get more players involved maybe in the offense?
It's really not players involved. It's just like having more possessions. I mean, we turned the ball over quite a bit. And I think if we got at least half of those back, we could have more people in double digits. So
Thank you for your insight.
Rafiq Lewison.
Yeah, you and Jones combined for only 15 points off the bench. What are you guys looking to do in order to produce more points coming off the bench in games like this? And how difficult was to have missed an open layup on the fast break?
just gotta stay aggressive. Things like that happen. I mean, people miss layups. It's part of the game. Just make it next time.
Thanks, Nay. Next up, Michaela Onyenwere.
To inflate you guys and lead to runouts for opponents. I'm just curious how frustrating it is to have some of these turnovers be unforced that lead to runouts for the other team and buckets on the other end.
Yeah, I think turnovers has been something that we've struggled with since the beginning of the season. It hasn't really been consistent for us. And so, yeah, it can be frustrating, when we have those turnovers, especially in costly moments. But that's not why we lost the game, those turnovers in the costly moments. But once they add up over time in the game, it does hurt us quite a bit.
Miles Ehrlich.
Hey, Michaela. In the third quarter, Betnijah Laney scored or assisted on 5 of the 8 buckets that the team had, and that included finding you for a couple. You had an 8-point run of your own. She repeatedly found teammates when the defense was overcommitting, and while she's always involved in the offense, this adjustment looked deliberate. Was that a point of emphasis at halftime to use Laney's basketball IQ to generate offense, or was that just a matter of her reading the defense and using their aggressiveness against them?
I think both and. Betnijah is just such a great player, so she does, draw a lot of attention. And so when people are able to double on her, people are able to cut, and she's able to find a lot of different options. And so getting the ball to Betnijah in the post or really anywhere on the floor is super helpful for us. And she's able to distribute, attack for herself, or just, make the right play.
Thank you so much.
Jackie Powell.
Hey, Michaela, thanks for being here with us. I'm curious as to where you think the level of focus was tonight, especially with navigating some of those traps. Why were the Dream able to get under your skin so much tonight compared to Saturday?
They did switch up their coverages just a little bit from the last game, like we anticipated. We were going to play them twice in a matter of a few days, and so we knew that their adjustments were going to be made. But I don't think we adjusted as well as we did, the first time we knew what they were going to do, and obviously they made adjustments. And so, that's just a matter of going back into the film, learning from what we could have done better on, and continue to move forward.
Brilliant. And so I wanted to also get a sense of the team morale. I mean, Walt had told us when you guys played Vegas that he had to remind you guys to believe in yourselves. So what's the motivation level right now after this game going into Saturday, trying to get that win?
I'm just reflecting on what we did well in this game. I mean, we had some, lapses in the game, but overall, I think that there were some positives. And so continue to just take the momentum into the next few games. We have Washington coming up. Good team. We didn't do well against them last time, but we've grown so much from the team that we were when we played them. And so I think that there's motivation in that. But I mean, there's not only a lack of motivation as far as, believing in one another. We know that we have each other in that sense. And so just continue to use that for momentum going into the game coming up in the next few days.
Thanks so much, Michaela. Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too.
Jeff Magliochetti.
Michaela, thank you for joining us. If you said that the turnovers didn't cost you guys this game tonight, in your opinion, what did, and how can you clean up that issue prior to the games on Saturday and Monday back home?
Sorry, let me repeat that. Turnovers in the last few moments, I don't think that costed us the game. I think over time, turnovers do add up. They do add to possession. I mean, they scored 22 points on our 18 turnovers, and so that's take away their 22 points. That's a lot of extra possessions that we're giving them. So I think in those timely moments, that wasn't the tipper of the game, but over time they did, affect us, and we didn't come up with the win in that sense.
That's fair. I apologize if I misunderstood that. But the other thing is you guys have 4 days coming up, and that's an extension over the past few games. Mostly it's been 1 or 2 days off in between games, but now you have 4 ahead. So how can you best utilize these days to be better prepared for Saturday's big contest against Washington?
Film will be really important. Recovery as well. Going back to Brooklyn will be nice, to have those home games and stuff like that. But I think film will be really important to be able to look at what we did in Washington. Like I said, we were a completely different team at that point in the season than we are now. And so looking to see how we can execute in that game, how we can be better, and hopefully come up with a different outcome than last time.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time and insight. Safe travels home.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks, Mick. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We will send post-game notes shortly.